Yo, Deborah Messing is insane, yo! And listen, I know I knew that. I was never that big of a fan of her, and this is something that even when I had full-on Trump derangement syndrome, that I would have looked at and been like, yeah, girl, you need to, like, go eat a cookie or something. Like, go meditate, relax, go on a retreat, go to a spa, do whatever you need to do. But you need to calm down, sweetheart. You do. So she tweeted this out yesterday. He effing knew 150,000 Americans dead and he did nothing. And it was in response to this tweet, exclusive to the Daily Beast, classified documents reveal U.S. Army warned Trump administration on February 3rd. Let's keep that date in mind. February 3rd, that up to 150,000 Americans could die from COVID-19. And she said he knew and he did nothing. Deborah, girl, let me show you how a calendar works, Deborah. To say he did nothing, I'm sorry, excuse me. Let's look at a timeline. And the timeline we're going to look at, I gotta scroll all the way up back to the top. The timeline we're going to look at is NBC News. Now, before we dig into this timeline, because there's really only like 2 points I want to make on this timeline, I just want to point out that I actually took the time to compare the NBC News timeline to the official timeline put out by the Trump campaign, the Trump administration, whatever, but the official timeline of actions that they've taken. And I want to say, NBC, man, anything you see in purple on this list here, these are things that are conveniently left off the NBC timeline. And frankly, I'm going to be fair, there's also stuff on the NBC timeline that was not on the Trump timeline. There's additional stuff that obviously doesn't make Trump look so good, or additional information. I would have highlighted it on here too, but my fancy little browser highlighty thing wouldn't work on it. I seriously would have done it if it had worked. But really, I mean, look at all the things that NBC has left off their timeline. This one was a little tricky. I put this one in green because it wasn't technically on the timeline. It was more they did like, what was the date of that one? February 29th. So, for example, so they had like White House news conference. We've taken aggressive actions on coronavirus, and you can read the full transcript. They didn't say what the actions were, though. They didn't say announced a level 4 travel advisory to Italy and South Korea, barred all travel from Iran, barred entry of foreign citizens who had visited Iran. So they weren't specific on their timeline. I guess technically, if I went through the transcript, it might have been there, but they weren't specific. It just keeps going. Again, this stuff in orange, it was kind of on the timeline, but it didn't spell it out, like all the good things that they were doing, like pausing interest on student loan payments and, all this good stuff that is going to help people or try to get people through this crisis as well as they can. They didn't include that on their timeline. And then basically anything after March 15th, because NBC's timeline ends on March 15th, we can see like right there, and they just haven't kept it up at all, even though you can search it as official timeline of events. So all this other stuff in red that the Trump administration has done since March 15th has been completely left off the NBC News official timeline. So we can make our own conclusions there. Honestly, if you have some time, that took me about half hour, maybe not even half hour to do, maybe more like, 15, 20 minutes. Go compare the two. It's an enlightening experience, but that's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that Deborah Messing, in her Trump derangement syndrome insanity, has said he did nothing and he effing knew. He doesn't care about American lives. Well, let's just see, Deborah. Let's just see what he did before February 3rd, according to the official unbiased news, NBC News timeline. Let's just look. And there are really let's just even go through it. December 31st, Associated Press becomes one of the first English language newspapers to record China investigation of an outbreak of respiratory illness. January 6th, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention warns Americans to take precautions if traveling to China. January 7th, CDC Emergency Operations Center activates a COVID-19 incident management syndrome used to direct operations, deliver resources, and share information. January 8th, CDC issues an alert about the coronavirus, saying it is closely monitoring the disease and there are no known U.S. cases. January 14th, World Health Organization issues a statement. I guess that's not an official Trump thing. January 17th, CDC holds its first COVID-19 telebriefing. Officials say the agency will start screening passengers. 21st, first case of coronavirus in the U.S. is confirmed. January 22nd, that's a World Economic Forum thing. January 27th, Trump tweets, we are in very close communication with China concerning the virus. Very few cases reported in the U.S., but strongly on watch. Deborah. Have offered China and President Xi any help that is necessary. Our experts are extraordinary. And let's just remind ourselves. Let's remind ourselves at this point. China lied. China lied a lot. China withheld very critical information in the course of their handling in this pandemic. China is still lying to this day. Please. January 29th, also before February 3rd, Deborah, Trump announces the creation of the president's coronavirus task force to lead the U.S. government response to the novel 2019 coronavirus, with keeping him apprised of developments. He formed the task force on January 29th. How can you screech and shout, he did nothing, for something that was on February 3rd, when on January 29th, he formed the coronavirus task force? January 30th, President Trump discusses the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, whatever. January 30th, working closely with China and others on coronavirus outbreak. China lied. Hashtag China lied, folks. China lied. People died. January 31st, Trump administration suspends entry into the United States by foreign nationals who traveled to China within the last 14 days. And he was declared as a racist by every single person for doing so. He did nothing indeed. February 2nd, well, we pretty much shut it down coming in from China. We've offered China help, but we can't have thousands of people coming in here who may have this problem, the coronavirus. Trump did nothing, huh? He did nothing. He did lots of things. And he did very important things. And lest we forget, Dr. Falchi says that Trump's decision to ban travel from China saved lives. It was a good thing by the experts. So did he do things as early as maybe we would have liked him to? Probably not. But you know what? None of y'all were doing nothing. So what are you going to do, Deborah, for all of the Democrats who did nothing about the coronavirus and all the media who said nothing about the coronavirus, said it's worse, it's not as bad as the flu? I mean, come on, please. Save your feigned outrage. This is absolutely ridiculous. Have we actually reached this point where people are not capable of looking at a GD calendar? Is it so hard? What the what, man? But I'll tell you what. They're still obsessed. So I saw this tweet with a poll. Do you approve of, Trump's handling amid the coronavirus? And it had 25,000 people in it when I took it this morning. And listen, man, they don't want to accept that people like what Trump is doing. Look, this person saw the results of their very own poll and said, wow, we're doomed. And you don't even realize it. Oh my God, clutching my pearls. Jesus Christ. And listen, man. You may not like it, but polls are showing exactly the same thing. Let's look at President Trump's job approval rating. Oh my gosh, is that an upward trend? I think it is. These are aggregate polls, folks. He's going up and up and up. He had a little bobble down. He was at 47.3 overall, and now he's down to 46.9. Still positive upward trajectory. Let's look at approval rating for Trump's handling of the coronavirus. Oh my gosh, is that black line? Is that above the red line? Yes, it is. And this one is crazy town, right? Because we've just had 6.6 million unemployment claims this week. Trump is above water on approval of his handling of the economy. Now, granted, this is for an average of all last month. We don't have data for this month yet. It is now April. I can't even believe it. It's going to be the longest month of all time in recorded history. But listen, man, for all of March, essentially, Trump was almost 12 points up on the economy. People approve of what he's doing. No matter how much you all scream and cry and complain and call him a horrible person, Trump is doing what people need to do. And listen, man, I don't know, like, here's the question I keep going over in my mind is like, what else do you want the guy to do? In your ideal scenario, what do you want him to do? Because all of you people are screaming and whining about how evil he is and how he got a late start, and like, every criticism that's being levied is all about what happened like 2 months ago. That's a long time in this scenario. 2 months ago. If the best argument that you can make is that he is an evil, vile person because of something that happened 2 months ago, instead of looking at every single action, hang on, let's go back to this list. Every single action that his administration has taken since then that you don't even want to acknowledge or put on your official timeline, NBC News, then, like, what is even the point? You want to complain and whine about the past when we need to be moving forward and trying to fix the problem. And guess what? Based on all these myriad actions, and someone can try to disprove that Trump took these actions to me if they want, go do it. It's a public list. But Trump is moving forward, man. Trump is doing exactly what he should be doing. But no, it's still not good enough, and we still need to pretend that Donald Trump is not going to get reelected in November. So this story was on the Daily Beast today. I actually became aware of this story when Sargon of Akkad covered it on his channel, but the difference between Sargon and I, he's like, I'm not paying to join the Daily Beast because it's a members-only story. Well, guess what? I paid the $1 to get the Daily Beast membership so I could read this story, because I was honestly just baffled as to what this story would even say. And listen, I actually haven't read this story yet. I thought it would be fun for us to discover this story together. Trump's failed coronavirus response cost him incumbents' edge. Come on, man. But let's read it. Let's find out what the Daily Beast and Matt Lewis, senior columnist at the Daily Beast, has to say. The coronavirus did what nothing else has. It neutralized Trump's ability to humiliate a foe while giving Biden the perfect reason to lay low. These people can rationalize anything, man. It is insane. So we're going to read the article, but before we do that, listen, I just want to say, I've been looking at the stats for my channel lately, and what I've noticed is that about 87% of you watching this video right now, you haven't subscribed yet. So if you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, I'm getting in a groove of doing very regular content. I'm getting all sorts of things set up right now. I know I've been a little slacker on it because, frankly, I've been serving clients who have a lot of challenges with getting their teams working from home and doing that well. So I've been a little distracted too, folks. But listen, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Share it out. It really helps me out. And this is something I'm doing kind of for fun, but I really enjoy it. I'm really enjoying my time with you guys in these videos, and I hope you're enjoying it too. If you are, go ahead and subscribe, hit the notifications, so you'll always be notified when I post new content. All right, we ready to read this Crazy Town Daily Beast article? Let's do it. With more than 6.6 million Americans filing for unemployment last week, and Donald Trump hoping that the coronavirus only kills one. I should let me rephrase that. I don't want to incorrectly credit something to them. And Donald Trump hoping that the coronavirus only kills 100,000 Americans. You might think that things couldn't get worse for his reelection chances, but then you'd be leaving out the opportunity cost. Listen, man, if you really think that all this is hurting Trump, you're really not paying attention. You're really not paying attention. Do I need to say that one more time just to get 3 in there? You're really, man, not paying attention to how people are responding to what he's doing. These daily press briefings, people like what Trump is doing. They trust him. Words I never thought I would say in time of a crisis, but hey, man, here we are. The problem for Trump isn't just the negative developments he's being tagged with, but also the negative campaigning he can no longer get away with. He doesn't need to campaign negatively. Dude's on TV 2 hours a day talking about all the things he's doing to help the American people while the Democrats are whining and crying and starting stupid, pointless investigations that will, fingers crossed, end up in another impeachment that will go horribly wrong. I don't actually mean it fingers crossed. If they actually do another impeachment, they are insane. Springtime may be a time for rebirth and hope, but it's only a time when It's only a time when heavily bankrolled presidents vanquish their out-party primary. This guy doesn't know how to write. Like, I'm a way better writer than this guy. Except this year, that's impossible. Trump clearly has his hands full with a major crisis. What is more, the seriousness of this pandemic and the fact that Trump has already botched his handling of it. Has he really? Has he really? Has he really botched his handling of it? Makes it very hard to deploy his brand of scorched earth mockery. Doing so would not just provoke a potential backlash for its unseemliness, but it would also reinforce the notion that Trump isn't fully focused on saving lives. Like, what you seem to be missing, Matt, is that Trump is behaving like a leader. He's doing the things that leaders do. Oh my God. Yes, he can't engage in scorched earth mockery. So what? That's a good thing. In essence, the coronavirus did what no imaginable force could possibly do. It neutralized Donald Trump's ability to humiliate his opponent while giving the opponent the perfect excuse to lay low. The Hunter Biden Burisma scandal, for example, isn't likely to have anywhere near the resonance Trump had hoped. Because Joe Biden having obvious dementia and not being able to form a coherent sentence is not reason enough for people to not want to vote for him in November. And listen, I've said this over and over again. I actually feel really bad. I don't want to make fun of Biden. Like, what is happening to him is so sad. I really feel bad for him. He's always wanted to be, nominated, win the nomination for president. He's always wanted to be president. In another time, I probably would have voted for Biden, man. I like Biden. But it's just, it's impossible. Like, he's not all there. I don't care who he nominates for vice president. It is not acceptable to put him up on the pedestal to lead the Democratic Party when dude can't even form a coherent sentence. I'm sorry. It's incredibly sad to me. It's awful what they're doing to him, and it's only going to get worse. And whatever, but do you really think that the Hunter Biden Burisma scandal is the thing that they should be worried about? You really think that that's the thing that's going to take them down? Come on, like, dude, for real. Now you might say there's plenty of time for attacking Biden, and there is, but why should we believe the political environment is going to change anytime soon? Trump is a master at distracting us from big news stories, except with this one, he didn't change the subject with a mean tweet. As Dr. Falchi said, the virus determines what the timetable is, not us. God help us if another story comes along that is big enough to overtake COVID-19 headlines. Hey man, we agree on that one. But you know what other things Dr. Falchi has said? That the actions Trump took to ban travel from China saved lives. Dr. Falchi says that too. Nothing like cherry-picking quotes, right? Trump's team never wanted this election to be a referendum on his competence. I actually think that Trump's team would have been thrilled if this was a referendum on his competence. The plan was to spend the spring smearing his opponent. We know that because that's who Trump is, and because that has been the plan for every modern incumbent president. And you know what? I mean, they're probably right about that. Like, if none of this had happened and Joe Biden was of sound mind, they probably would have hit on the Burisma scandal over and over again, and Biden probably would have lost anyway because no one is excited about Joe Biden. Literally no one is excited about him. It's like moving backwards. Trump is all about like moving forwards. What can we do? What problems can we fix? You may not agree with his solutions to those problems, and God knows I definitely have issues with some of them, but Biden's like, let's go back to Obama. That's not inspiring, man. People want to move forward. They want to move into, like, it's been a long time since Barack Obama was elected president, dude. It's been a long time. We don't want to go back. You want to go forward. That's what leaders do. They go forward. In the olden days, political conventions literally picked nominees, which meant incumbent presidents could not spend all spring attacking a nominee in waiting, since there might be numerous candidates who would emerge as the nominee. But for the last 4 decades or so, national conventions have been purely ceremonial affairs, and challengers have paid the price. George H.W. Bush, not an incumbent president, although he ran as one, started talking about Willie Horton in June of 1988. That was arguably the defining issue of that campaign. Bill Clinton spent the spring of 1996 defining Bob Dole as too old and too beholden to Newt Gingrich. Dole never shook that branding. And in the spring of 2014, George W. Bush's campaign started portraying John Kerry as a flip-flopper who voted for the war in Iraq before he voted against it. Each of these examples becomes indelibly linked to the challenger, helping shape the attitudes and perceptions that contributed to his defeat. Is it any wonder that since 1980, 4 out of 5 presidents have been reelected? And you think, do you really think that Trump has nothing he can use on Biden? Again, dude can't form a coherent sentence, and it's sad and it's horrible. But to say that Trump is like at a disadvantage here, you're insane. After Barack Obama rejected public financing of his campaign, the disparity grew even more. In 2012, President Obama spent the spring defining Mitt Romney as a monster. Romney, a super rich guy, simply didn't have the money to fight back. One way to mitigate the disparity was simply to move conventions to earlier dates, which the parties did, but that only goes so far in limiting the damage done to helpless challengers during the interim, I don't know what that word is, between wrapping up their primary contest and becoming the official party nominee. Note the DNC on Thursday postponed their national convention in Milwaukee by about a month to August 17th. As then RNC chairman Reince Priebus explained to Fox News in 2014, now the candidates don't take this public money, and so what's happening is a candidate can be broke, but they are not able to raise general election money until after the convention is held. So if you have a candidate that's broke after a primary in May, that candidate is basically a duck in the pond until they get nominated. Joe Biden was poised to be that sitting duck. Although his high name ID makes him less susceptible than past challengers to being defined by an incumbent president, one could certainly imagine a scenario where Trump would have unleashed ungodly amounts of money attacking Biden this spring. It's starting to feel like this election is slipping away from... This is the best argument they had? That Trump isn't going to unleash godly amounts of money attacking Joe Biden in the spring? And that's the thing that is helping you feel like the election is slipping away? Dude. That's what makes the election slipping away. If Trump pulls us through this coronavirus crazy town, he is absolutely going to get reelected. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, you probably went to school somewhere. I think you learned how to think at some point. Maybe I'm wrong. You know how to, kind of know how to write. Not as well as me, but whatever. That's literally it! No, wait. Wow. That is literally the end of the article. Daily Beast, listen. I know that, like, I'm not on your team anymore. I get it. But please, like, he's a senior columnist, man. That is your best argument to why Donald Trump is not going to win. I am so happy I didn't read this article beforehand, because if I had read this article beforehand, I would have been like, I'm not talking about that. That's stupid. This is the most oh my God. Democrats, progressives, people that never Trumpers, whatever. Y'all need to get a grip. You really do. Trump's not doing that bad of a job, man. I would actually say he's doing a good job. He's doing a solid job. I don't think anyone in his position could do a different job. I don't know how much better they could have done. So y'all gotta get a grip. You've got to come back down to reality. You've got to start looking at numbers. You have to start talking to people. You have to start talking to those 15% of Bernie bros who are not going to vote for your candidate. You have to start talking to people like me who are so fed up with what you're doing that even if I don't like Trump, there is absolutely no way that I'm voting for Joe Biden. There's absolutely no way. You've got to start actually wrapping your heads around this. This is part of why I became so pissed with the Democratic Party, because y'all are living in Fantasyland. You aren't living in the real world. You're living in Fantasyland, where you're all just reinforcing what each other thinks and giving each other high fives and say, oh, I can't wait for November. Yeah, dude. I can't wait for November either, because y'all are going to lose. You're going to lose big. And I'm just going to sit back with a bag of popcorn and enjoy every single second of it.